As I mentioned earlier in the introduction, my special guest today is a lovely young lady by the name of Sitori Holbrook. Sitori, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Well, I am just doing more than moderately adequate. Thank you very much for asking. I got to tell you guys, I first met Satori the other day. She was the featured presenter at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and she was talking about accounting solutions and things like that. I was just really impressed with the things that she had said, which I'd never really heard before. And it kind of flows right into the show of like, how do we make it easy for people to give us money? Like some of the things that she said, it was not only how do you make it easy for people to keep the money that people have already given them. We're going to touch a little bit on that. But before we do, Satori, tell us a little bit more about you and about your background. You've got some great adventures in addition to the world of accounting, world traveler, working with nonprofit organizations. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I love to travel. Growing up and going off to college, I would often see my friends that had more money than me that were able to do study abroad, and I was always wanted to do that, but just was not in a place in my life where I could. And then when I was in my early 30s, I was actually lucky enough to get on with a travel program that was designed for working adults. They sold it as study abroad for working adults. I convinced my bosses to let me do that. It was not an easy thing to do. I never dreamed they'd say yes. I got to spend the year traveling the world and just meeting some incredible people. And part of that, I was with this incredible group of human beings that we also wanted to give back to the places that we went. So we tried to do service projects everywhere we went and leave something better than we found it.
That's great. So you were working with some refugees in Malaysia, I understand?
Yeah, we did a little bit with them. We were a part of, we got introduced to this program down there because Malaysia has a lot of refugees programs. And so there were some young girls fresh out of college. They had this vision of how they could help these refugees at least make a living wage. It's really hard to do in Malaysia. So we got to hear about these stories. These refugees were absolutely incredible cooks. So we got to eat some of the best food I had that entire year I traveled and just help be a part of their story, learn about their struggles, really open our eyes to what is going on in the world around us.
Wow. So I know that you were working with some nonprofit organizations. Were you helping them with their accounting practices at that time, or what were you doing
Not
with
at
them?
that time. We were just traveling, and so it was our group giving back kind of non-special skills, if you will, just whatever those groups needed. Sometimes we were painting houses or, playing soccer with kids. I was not playing soccer, but I was trying to pretend I knew how to play soccer with these kids. And these lower skills, but it really taught me to love nonprofit. So when I got home from that, I really wanted to focus a lot of my career on using my accounting skills to help these nonprofits grow and develop their programs.
Oh, that's excellent. So right now, I understand you're working for you're a an accounting services senior manager with Tanner Accountants
Yes,
and Advisors. Are you in the Salt Lake or the Lehigh office?
I'm in the Salt Lake office.
Oh, great. A delightful place to be sure. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your career, and then I want to focus on some of the other things that you can advise some of the business owners that are listening today on how they can keep more of the money that they're making.
Okay, so I've been at Tanner about 11 years now. I started out in their audit department and I loved audit. I loved my clients, but I really wanted a deeper relationship with my clients. I wanted to really help them build something, use my skills to help these business owners achieve their dreams, right? Whatever these entrepreneurs were looking to do, I wanted to be a small part of that. I didn't want to go into industry like so many people do and work for one company. I wanted to work for all the companies. And so a few years into my career at Tanner, I got the opportunity to help co-found this department, and we take a three-prong approach. Number one is really helping clients define their strategy, right? Like if they don't have a roadmap for where they're going, the rest is not going to matter. And then we wanted to help them design their finances around it. So I get very involved in that and saying, okay, how are your financial statements going to tell the story of your strategic goals and the direction that you want to move? And then once we get that in place, then we come in the back end and we say, okay, now your operations have to support that. Everything you are doing every single day has to be in line with that strategic goal. And then we use those financials to look back and say, okay, are you achieving that? And if not, why? And if you are, how can we get even better, right? Go from good to great. And so we really use those financial statements in partnership with these owners to make their dreams come true.
So you've touched on something that I think applies to all facets of business, especially even marketing. But in your experience, how many businesses do you believe actually take the time to develop a strategic plan of action for their accounting? Is it everyone or
Just for their accounting, I would say maybe 10%. Some of them
10%?
know it's important, but they don't align it. I see that so much. Is like, yeah, we're getting these financial statements. I don't even know what it means. I don't know how to interpret these numbers, right? It's like the example I always give is my accountant speaks French. I only speak English. I don't understand this, but hey, I can get my taxes filed. It's good enough, whatever. They don't really understand how to use the financials to tell the story of their business.
So if only 10% of businesses are actually devising a strategic accounting plan and then taking the steps to actualize that and put it into action, does that mean like 90% of the businesses are probably losing money or not taking advantage of the revenue that they're already generating? They're just not doing it the right way?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of them are incredibly successful, but they don't really know why, right? They know they hit on something. They have this incredible product, right? Like we see this all the time, especially in the IT industry. Like you get that lucky shot and you do incredible, but do you really know why, right? Do you really know why your margins were incredible or why you got that sale or why that investor was willing to invest in you? And so many don't know those answers.
Yeah, I believe that. I run into the same thing in my industry, in the marketing industry. I find that probably less than 10% of businesses actually put together a marketing plan of action. And their basic marketing plan is, let's throw some spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks, and we'll just do that. It's like, it's incredible that they could be so much more successful if they would make a strategic plan of action and follow those steps. And then go back to exactly what you said. You need to have some analytic data so you're able to find out what's working and not working. So when we do a marketing campaign for clients, especially like with Google, we've got access to the Google Analytics. I find that most people, not only do they not check it, but they have no idea what it is. So they don't know what's working and what's not working. They don't know why they made that big sale. And I'm finding in talking to you that the same thing happens in their accounting practices. They don't take the time to make a strategic plan. And it's like, oh, well, we got lucky. And let's see if we can do that again next month.
And I think you just hit on something incredibly important, right? Like so many accountants will be like, okay, I recorded your marketing expense for the month. It's in your P&L. It's called marketing expense. Great. But they're not going that extra layer to say, did these, Google ads convert the way you were hoping? What was your goal? What is your industry average? Like, do we need to shift something? And so many of my clients will just say, oh, I just need to throw more money at marketing. It's like, no, you need to throw more money at the right marketing, which means you need the data behind this that's going to support that. You're absolutely right.
Well, I can see then that it would be a wise and prudent move for the business owner and their marketing director to sit down with their accounting person and examine all of those things at the same time and make a coordinated effort to find out what is working, what's not working, why did it not work, what can we do better to increase our ROI on all this stuff. I can see a team effort between the marketing and the accounting department.
Brilliant. Yes,
I'll bet.
absolutely.
I've never seen anybody do that. Have you?
Rarely do we. They treat it like it's such different things. And that's where exactly we come back to your operations needs to be in support of everything you're doing. And so, yes, everybody on that team needs to be communicating and moving in the same direction.
Yeah, I think that's a part. I think we've hit on a new thing. So I think you need to call all of your clients and say, I need to sit down with you and your marketing people.
I think so.
What is going on here? Oh my gosh, that's incredible. One of the things that I learned in your presentation the other day was that business owners seem to be some, not all, but some seem to be somewhat lackadaisical, which is a hard word for me to say this early in the morning, in the fact that in who they're giving the access to their accounting to. Like, here's my username, here's my password, you have access to all my books, all my bank accounts, and everything, and then they just walk away. Maybe they're not paying attention. They're playing golf. And lo and behold, they discover one day, we have no money because the person has absconded with their funds. Is that a common occurrence? I know you talked about that the other day.
It is far too common. I see it way too often. It comes down to, well, I think I can trust this person. And so you give them full access. So one of the things we really focus on with our clients is internal controls. And it's, this concept of segregation of duties, where the person who is recording the accounting transaction should never be the person who has access to actually spend the money. That is the simple explanation of a very complicated.
Wait a minute. I want you to say that again so everybody gets that. Go ahead, say it again.
Yeah, the person who is recording the transactions in your books should not be the same person that is spending the money.
Good point. Did you guys get that? Are you listening? Okay, that's excellent. I love that part. And evidently that's a common thing where like if a small business might have one person that does everything. Business owner comes in to work on Monday after the weekend, and lo and behold, we have no money, and Sally and Bob are gone.
Unfortunately, yes.
Wow. So what are some other things that that a business owner can do to protect themselves? So in addition to not having the one person doing both functions, what are some other solutions and steps that a business owner can use to protect themselves?
Review your financial statements. Get very involved. Understand that numbers. Again, I'm going back to that example. Learn to speak that French, or get a really good accountant that can interpret that even to English to you. And if anything does not feel right, if something does not make sense, it doesn't add up, ask questions, push back. Any accountant that is doing their job properly, they can put that in plain English to you. There should be no convoluted explanations. If they can't do that, either they're a terrible accountant or they're trying to hide something.
Wow, that's really concerning that is going on. So I know a lot of businesses will have an in-house accountant or an in-house accounting person. If they do that, and let's say they've been running their books and doing their accounting for a long time, would you recommend that they still use an outside or an outsourced CPA firm or accountant to review everything the in-house person's doing, just to be sure?
I mean, if you have only one in-house person and they're, doing both those functions that I talked about, yes, you need a third person, or immediately that business owner needs to switch over to being the person paying those bills and let the accountants just do the reconciling side of it. And with technology today, that's very easy, right? Like you can set yourself up on Bill, and so they're loading all your invoices and they're getting ready to pay, and you're just pushing a button. It's 2 seconds that, in some cases, I've had clients lose millions of dollars because they weren't doing this. And so do I think you need absolutely an external CPA? No, especially if you have an external tax accountant or something. But I will say, I do think the way the world's going for small and medium-sized businesses, outsourcing is going to become a much more common option across the board.
Yeah, I've seen a lot more outsourcing. So you've got outsourced and fractional CPAs. Everybody's fractional or outsourced nowadays. I think that I could probably do that because I am able to push a button. That's about the limit of my accounting skills. I've looked at some of these spreadsheets and things, and my eyes glaze over. I find my mind is wandering, going, oh, beige. I think I'll paint the ceiling beige. Oh my gosh, I need to call Sitori because I have no idea what any of this stuff means. I think you might have a similar situation like I do in the marketing world. I find a lot of business owners and managers, they think that, oh, marketing's pretty easy. I really don't need to hire a professional expert that understands these things. I mean, really, all you do is, you write a few ads, stick them in a few places, and off we go. And yeah, maybe it'll work, and maybe it won't. Maybe the same thing's happening as it pertains to the finance director or the in-house CPA. They go, listen, how hard can it be? I've got Excel. I put things in. I push the button. Everything works. Do you find that that is often an occurrence?
Oh, absolutely right. For most companies, we're pure overhead, right? Small businesses, they don't want to pay for that. So they're like, oh, we'll just wear that hat. And that works great until it doesn't, right? Until you need that round of funding and they're asking for really good financial statements and investors are asking those questions. You're like, I don't know, here's my spreadsheet. You tell me.
Yeah. I find that in my career now, I try to wear as few hats as I possibly can. I have enough to do with the one hat I wear. I don't want to wear your hat or the attorney's hat or any of these other hats. I have one thing that I do. I'm going to delegate the rest. I'm a big believer in do what you do best and delegate the rest to a professional that knows what he or she is absolutely doing. In the long run, it's the safest. It will increase your profitability, the longevity of your company. You'll be happier and you'll have less stress in your life to be able to do the things you like. What were some of the other things that you touched on in the presentation the other day that will help businesses?
I think the most important thing business owners can do is once they understand those financials, not just looking at that bottom line and saying, okay, here's my net income or here's my net loss or whatever, but really asking why. Again, why are these numbers the way they are? And then what am I not seeing? I think that's such an important question that gets missed a lot is like, what is my blind spot here? And then trying to solve those problems from that kind of that different angle. I think asking themselves the question, what won't change, right? Like you have this great business model, technology is changing so quickly. It's just asking yourself, what's not going to change that those are going to become your core competencies and everything about how you do that might be different, but I think your what and your where is always going to stay the same if you're asking that question.
Oh, I like that. Examine what is not working. I think sometimes we as business owners, maybe our ego gets in the way and we think, hey, everything I do works. And we really don't want to look at what's not working. We're interested kind of in what is, but examine what is not working. I think that's important. I do that in marketing when we do our analytics and have marketing meetings. We have the ability to look at in every single ad and we can tell which ad is not working, which ones are. So we do more of the ones that are and we kill the ones that aren't and replace them with something that does work. So that same principle holds true in the world of accounting and finance, I see. What are some other things you find that business owners are doing that they're shocked to learn that this is not working and you come in and help put them back on the right track?
Yeah, I think a lot of times they're not focusing enough on their cash flow, right? They get very hung up, I think, as business owners on two things. Number one, their revenue. And if you're doing accrual basis accounting versus cash basis accounting, the timing that you record your revenue and create a receivable from your clients, from your customers, that can look very, very different. That timing, they might have a terms of, okay, we can pay you in 30 days. And so they're just getting so caught up in that revenue number. And then if companies are looking to sell, EBITDA becomes this huge number of what's my multiple going to be when I go to sell my company. They get very caught up on that. I like to bring clients back to what's called operating cash flow, and that is the actual cash that they are bringing into their business from their day-to-day operations, right? If you could have the most incredible revenue in the world, if those customers are not paying you, if you're not collecting on that accounts receivable, you're going to run out of cash and be out of business. So getting clients to understand, am I cash flow positive from what I do, right? That throws out the effects of what you're bringing in from loans or investors and just saying, when I do what I do, am I bringing in cash from that? And how quickly am I bringing in that cash?
Oh, I like that. Am I actually profitable or am I just a money laundering machine, not in the illegal sense, but money comes in and I pay my bills and I have stuff left over and I can go to lunch.
Yep.
So you really need to manage your cash flow. That's a big deal. I know that's one of the things you mentioned the other day. I loved it. And I noticed some of the folks had shocked and perplexed looks on their faces when you said, when you're out of cash, you're out of business. It's just that simple. And I'm shocked to learn that people don't really take the time to manage and examine what their cash flow is. Doesn't seem that hard, does it? Why don't they do that?
I mean, I think it's human nature. We see what's in the bank and we think we can spend that and we get excited, especially business owners, right? When you get that very first round of seed funding or something, that is exciting. And you think, I can explode my business now. I can go buy all these things and you just get excited and that money is going to go away. And then if you don't have a good accountant in there kind of reining you in, kind of almost being that bad cop and saying, okay, Let's look at now, how long does this cash have to last you, right? You took, I don't know, 10 months to generate this funding. How long might it be until you get your, round B funding? We got to be thinking about payroll 6 months from now, right? I don't want to be in the room with my clients the night before payroll's due going, how are we going to pay this? We have no plan, right? We want to be setting those expectations of their cash flow long in advance, and I think sometimes business owners also get a little overexcited about how quickly they're going to get to revenue, right? And so we've got to look at, okay, realistically, how long until you're generating revenue? How long until you are profitable and have that positive operating cash flow? Okay, we need to plan for that. We need to plan for contingencies. And I think so many business owners don't know how to do it. They're so excited about their product. They don't really think about all the things that goes into that and how long it can take.
Yeah, I don't think if they understand that revenue and income and profit are not the same thing. It's kind of like people who think, you know, I have checks in my checkbook when we had checkbooks. So that means I still have money. I can buy stuff. And it's like, no, you can't do that. When I was living in Dana Point and Laguna, I worked with an accountant who said something very similar to what you just did. And that was, she sat down with her clients and said, okay, you guys are bringing in a ton of revenue, but your profitability is less than lackluster. And when she examined everything, she discovered that they were spending thousands of dollars a month on eating out and recreation. Eating it, what? Let's go to the Montage for dinner and let's bring 10 friends with us because it's all the tax write-off. And she's going, no, you can't do that. This will all be gone in a couple of years. Go home and have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and save $350. So it's crazy the way people look at those things like that. What are some other pitfalls that you see some businesses make that hurt them that way?
I see a lot. They love their product, right? They are fully invested in it. They're not really looking, is there truly a market for my product, right? And what's the next thing, right? Like if I'm selling this thing that a client or a customer only needs to buy once, okay, what's going to bring them back to my door and keep them coming and keep this fresh? And it's like, yeah, you might have this incredible idea, but maybe that doesn't need to be your only idea. You need to keep building and evolving and always forward thinking.
That is an excellent idea. About the product or service, is the product or service you're selling, is it something that's going to be used once, or maybe they'll buy another one in 5 or 10 years, like a house, maybe 5, 7 years, or is it something that they're going to be buying every month? Is it a renewable service or something like that? I know when I've done pay-per-click campaigns, we have the ability to look at the financials and say, okay, what's your gross sale? What is your net profit? How many of these things do you do per month? And then we run it through the software program, and it will tell them whether or not you're actually going to make money doing this ad campaign, or are you going to go upside down? And well, so if you've got something you do once a month and you're spending thousands of dollars on maybe an ad campaign, but you're only getting one sale per month and it doesn't equal the amount you're spending, don't do that. The best ways to do that, from what I found, if you're doing like a pay-per-click campaign or something like that, is to advertise or promote a product or service that people will buy more than one of in their lifetime. Otherwise, you're spinning your wheels and find a different way to spend that advertising and marketing dollar. So hopefully that helps you guys save a lot of money and not doing unwise things. What are some other things that I can do to help my business in terms of accounting and finance?
One of the things, I didn't actually touch on this in the presentation that you heard, but I think this is critical. I teach an entirely other class on this. It's the 7 wastes. It's based on Toyota's manufacturing model of their 7 wastes when Japan was really struggling with things, and they said, we've got to get as lean as we possibly can. We have a model that we use based on that applies to every single industry you can imagine. And sometimes that's shocking to our clients, like you were talking about earlier, where they have waste that they might not really realize, right? Like, hey, maybe I don't need the $10,000 dinner. I can go eat that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, even if I did that twice a week instead. Like, what is that going to save me? And then all these operational things that are not going to show up as bills on your financial statements, that are going to just save you time and energy. You know, if you look at, is your office laid out in the most advantageous way? And so
Good one.
we take our clients through this, and we've seen some clients actually double their margins just by cleaning up some low-hanging fruit and just really thinking about, where am I being wasteful? And you know, at first when I learned this model, I thought that, oh my gosh, this is going to feel like we're trying to make people be robots and we're going to micromanage. What I learned is we're actually just removing pain points. We're actually making employees happier by doing this, because the things that were making them miserable are now gone.
I love that. What? You mean you're going to alleviate my stress? I'll be able to sleep at night. I think that's really, really important. I think that's very important. I'm glad to see you guys are doing that. We have a couple of minutes left here. Do you guys? I know you're primarily located in Utah. We have a lot of folks in California, Nevada, and other places. Can you help folks that are out of the state of Utah?
Yes, I have clients all over the country, and I even have a few international clients that have a business in the U.S. and they don't understand business laws altogether. And so our whole firm can come together helping with international tax and accounting and all those things that they need to run a successful business in the U.S. anywhere they are.
Wow, that's great. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, give me your contact information right now before we close. I want to make sure that people are able to get a hold of you anywhere in the nation.
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is my cell phone. I feel like every phone number I have, my email all rings to that, and it's my cell phone's 801-809-5240.
Do that one more time.
801-809-5240.
And what is your email address?
It is just sholbrook@tannerco.com.
And your website is tannerco.com, correct? I think that's great. So those of you who are listening that would like some additional information on how Sitori and her company can not only make it easy for people to give you money, but make it easier to keep the money that people have already given you. I need a deep breath after that one. That was a big one. Be sure and reach out to her and give her a call. And for all of my friends down there in the Laguna Beach, Dana Point, South Orange County area, if you call Sitori and you set something up, Sitori wants you to call me, and we'll all meet down there at the Coastal Kitchen and have a great lunch. I like the halibut. Thank you very much. That was an unpaid announcement, you know. I think that's great. I'm glad you can do business all over the place. I want to thank you for being my special guest today. I will see you guys again next week with another exciting adventure in the world of how to make it easy for people to give you money. If you guys have any questions or you'd like a transcript or a copy of today's show, you can email me at michael@121network.com. michael@121network.com. Also, the show is on all the major podcast stations in addition to KXFM and the other radio stations. And you can find us there. Also, on YouTube, just look for Make It Easy for People to Give You Money. You can download the show there. Sitori, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.